Back with another CZN video. Today we're going to take a look at Hilde now that her banner is about to end and Arabella is about to come. Whether you should pull her, save your resources before her banner disappears. So we all know what she does. She is an extremely strong character that uses extra attacks. She's also really good at card cycling. That's probably her biggest utility advantage. She doesn't just do damage, but she also helps manipulate the deck and draw cards. And I would classify her as a sub-damage dealer that assists with drawing rather than being designed purely as a hyper carry. So this makes her valuable even when she's not personally doing all the damage. And then she also scales really well with extra damage and critical damage. But first, before we get into her cards, we're just going to go over a few important terms. So ionization is new. It's a plus 8% damage taken for each ionization and 4% additional from Hilde. So maxing out at 12 stacks, that's 96% damage for your team. So that's the major reason I wouldn't describe her simply as a main DPS, because she can contribute to the team's damage even when another character is the one delivering the damage. Then she also has 0 in, which at the end of the turn, 35% extra attack to the enemy with the highest HP for each 0 in, and on activation removes 0 in, maxing out at 60 stacks. And that's about 2,100% damage if you can get the max amount of stacks at the end of the turn. And then, of course, you have Scorched as one of the damaging attacks in her kit, and that's just a DOT at the end of the turn. Or if you can detonate. And then going through her cards, Quiver Reload, we're going to actually go through these rather quickly than explaining each card in detail. But Quiver Reload, you can think of this as the engine of her cards. It generates homing arrows. So if Quiver Reload is the engine, then homing arrow, you can see that as the fuel. Then in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 epiphanies, 1 and 2 are going to be the best. And Fracture, if you need to apply Fracture, then choose Epiphany 2. But for all purposes, Epiphany 1 will create 4, and then draw one of those to start cycling. And then the next one is Plasma Rain. And Plasma Rain is the AoE/utility card, and this one will allow her to draw a lot of cards. So Epiphany 2, if you get the Divine Epiphany, reduce cost by 1, basically will stack ionization as well as draw 1. And then Epiphany 1 will have attunement on that, so you'll be able to stack 4 ionization each turn. So capping out at 12 stacks, so you need 3 turns to max out in stacks. So this is her card that will allow her to increase overall team damage. Then Draw and Release is the card that basically keeps the engine going. I think version Epiphany 2 is really good with the Divine Epiphany of reducing cost. Basically, she will be able to draw 2 cards for 0 cost, as well as increasing, or for the next 3 extra attacks, 1 fracture to all enemies. So basically 0 cost for 2 draw, and then also fracture. And then Epiphany 3, we're going to talk about that a little bit later, has synergy with a Season 1 card. Big Ranger is her card for scaling, basically for 0 in the end of turn damage. And at max stack 60, she'll be able to deal 2100%. And this is the upgrade version that will allow her to get that big payoff. And then Vortex Arrow is her ultimate card, and draw 3 and increases in damage as long as she's able to draw cards. So this is not only a good draw engine, but also some DPS to all enemies. So just going over a few decks, I haven't actually farmed too much, but in terms of the decks I farmed, this one is the damage version. So RFS is going to increase critical percent by 10% for 0 cost cards, which will apply to her homing arrows. And then the pulsating eggs, it's 15% extra attack. So I think this combination will provide maybe the best combination of damage between the weapon and the ring. Otherwise, there is a purple weapon that gives 20% crit damage, and of course you can always choose the Cthulhu 18% attack weapon. But in this version we have Quiver Reload, each one with a reduced cost Divine Epiphany. Technically for this last one, you could change this last one to the upgrade. So with the upgrade, you can start each turn with 3 homing arrow in draw pile and cannot be targeted turn draw. And then Plasma Rain is going to increase team-wide damage. This version, this Epiphany, will get the maximum amount of stacks per turn, which is 4, taking 3 turns to maximize the plus 90% damage for the team. Draw and Release, just a draw engine, 0 cost to draw. And then Big Ranger will provide the most 0 in stacks available. And then Driven Hunt is going to be the best option here to reduce fortitude and increase overall damage for the team. Then another deck that I have farmed up is the support version. This one with the Forbidden Eternal Hunger has a good synergy with Draw and Release. Technically, I think 3 Draw and Release would be better with just 1 Divine Epiphany, but I'm just going to keep it this way for now. But she's going to be able to move all cards in her hand to the draw pile and then draw those back, and those forbidden eternal hungers will proc again, drawing 2 more with 2 more AP. So not only is this deck good for AP, but also for draw. And then I do have this one farmed with the Tentacles of a Ruined Age for team-wide plus 8% ally damage. So in terms of decks, she has the support version here, just for drawing and AP, and then the other version for damage. And you can change around a couple of these epiphanies for more support. This version just deals slightly more damage. And then memory fragments, I would recommend, if you have farmed the new set, the Battlefield Evolution on extra attack, or when an attack card is created in draw pile or on draw through an attack card, 1 evolving battlefield, maxing out at 35% critical damage. And then with the Executioner tool for 25% more critical damage. I don't have a good set farm, so I just have the attack and critical damage set. Agony really doesn't matter here. And the Ego Manifestation, this is where I think things can get really interesting depending on your investment. She works perfectly fine at E0, but her Manifest Ego upgrades really push her towards the extra attack archetype. So E1 increases her draw on Vortex Arrow and also increases the damage some. E2, she gains 10% critical chance and then also double tap, which provides a little bit of extra damage to extra attack. So I think E2 is a pretty good place to stop if you're going to invest in her. She gains a 10% critical chance as well as extra draw. Then E3 will increase the damage on her ego skill and change the percent from 15 to 25%. E4, for each hit an ally perform gains 1 Find the Gap, and Find the Gap increased damage amount of her extra attacks by 5%, max 8 stacks. So this is for Hilde if you're considering her as a damage and carry. She's just going to get a little bit more extra damage from each stack. Then E6 is very powerful if you're specifically building around Hilde and or Instinct teammates. This will provide additional 15% critical chance to Instinct attribute allies. So this is not necessary to justify pulling for her, but if you have the resources, this is a really strong E6, especially if you're using her with Instinct allies. Well, we already know the next character, Arabella, is going to be Instinct, as well as the last character, Olga. So I think the season is designed to use all three together. So if you have the resources, you can, but I think the better investment would be to invest in Arabella. As far as her weaknesses, I think she is pretty setup dependent. She can be kind of awkward to play since she doesn't have, she has a definite learning curve, and just trying to figure out what you're trying to do with her since we don't know the full kits for the next couple characters. I think if you're going to play her, she's definitely going to be great as just utility, increasing damage, as well as draw engine. You can think of her as kind of like a 2.0 version of Veronica, where Veronica just has a lot of card draw in her kit. But Hilde, in addition to card draw, she also going to increase team damage as well as also providing some of her own damage. So all in all, I would rate her really strong for semi DPS as well as utility for draw. Definitely would recommend pulling at least one copy just so that you have her for the draw engine. I wouldn't say she's, I would recommend going past E0 for now. Just save your resources. We're going to have a next seasonal limited character coming out in Arabella, and the next season we're going to have another limited character. So definitely save your resources. And as far as her partner goes, her partner is definitely really good, but I'm actually skipped her partner, did not pull. I'm using her primarily for the utility part, so I really don't need the 10% critical chance that Uni gives, and her ego skill is relatively strong too, increasing her damage, but I'm not really using for her damage, mostly using for utility. So I went ahead and skipped her using Rosaria. Rosaria is perfectly strong for her with max ego. She gives a lot of stats, increases extra attack damage, and possibly giving that morale stat. So this is pretty much everything I have for this video. Definitely recommend pulling just one copy. Save your resources. But if this helps, please like and subscribe. And as always, have a great day.